Hello and welcome to Miles Ahead. I'm Miles,
And I'm Bradley.
and today we'll be talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day. This is the latest Spider-Man movie. This is the fourth one with the MCU, Tom Holland. It's got a different director with Destin Daniel Cretton, something like that, who directed Shang-Chi and was one of the creative forces behind Wonder Man. And I think this is probably the best Tom Holland Spider-Man I think that's been released so far. You look a bit conflicted there.
I wouldn't say the best one, but it was good, and it definitely it definitely continued the story from the last one, and it was definitely interesting to see how sort of Tom Holland and Daya and Jacob sort of act in this one, because obviously I don't know who Peter Parker is anymore, and it's interesting to see the sort of alternate world really, where Spider-Man is sort of working a bit more like the police, rather than sort of going solo and then sort of getting in with the Avengers, and particularly Tony Stark. And yeah, it was interesting to see I guess a more comic-like Spider-Man, in the sense that he sort of, I guess in the comics, he works more with the police.
I guess it depends on the story.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting to see sort of an alternate sort of universe without it really being an alternate universe.
Yeah, I don't know if I guess I can understand why you're saying alternate universe, because after the events of No Way Home, as you said, everyone forgets that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and it's just sort of he's pretty much Spider-Man throughout this movie. You know, no one really knows who he is. He doesn't really attend like any schools, college, doesn't do anything sociable. He's just Spider-Man pretty much 24/7. Yeah, so it's sort of this film's sort of about his journey becoming sort of, I guess, a new hero in that respect. So learning to maybe let go, asking for help, stuff like that. It's sort of, he starts, as I mentioned before, being Spider-Man, and like, you know, there's other, you know, he's facing like other villains. So there's like the Scorpion, who returns, played by Michael Mando, who was in Homecoming about 10 years ago. So it's good to see him back in some sort of role. There was, as we mentioned, Tombstone, who a lot of people thought was going to be like a secret main villain, because all the marketing is very hidden around him, although his actor was announced at that point. And like, we didn't really get a good look until like the Lego figure came out and stuff like that. And it turns out he wasn't really that big in the role in the film. That's it. There's someone who I thought was Rhino, but apparently he's a villain called Ramrod. I don't know. But yeah, there's like other Spider-Man villains. There's the Hand, who I don't think are directly Spider-Man villains.
No.
But yeah, it was interesting, because we'll probably talk more about the Hand, and that apparently they were played by Jackie Chan's stunt team, which was quite interesting. And yeah, so he's facing all these villains, and then a new threat comes, and he's made friends with probably the wrong people and stuff like that. So it's sort of him, I guess, managing on his own. That's pretty much the basis of the film, for most of the part.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite interesting how sort of the tone has changed as well, because obviously in the other Spider-Mans with Tom Holland, he's he's in high school. He's very much like a teenager. He's very much sort of he has that reliance. He had that reliance on his aunt. And he had that reliance on Happy, Tony Stark, and he sort And now we sort of he's meant to be in college, and the events sort of take place sort of within, I believe, within the 4 years.
It's meant to be something like 4 years or 3 years after No Way Home.
Yeah, so essentially he would have, if he was in college, he would have graduated basically in the events of the film, if it worked out that way. But yeah, I mean, it's Tom Holland's Spider-Man becoming an adult, essentially.
Yeah.
And sort of working out things on his own. And I think they handled that quite well. And I think the story was quite well written, in that sense, in that regard, that he had to sort of, he is working with the police, but he has to figure things out for himself. And he makes, as you said, he makes friends with the wrong sort of people, and then eventually he sort of learns that and sort of has to rectify it himself. So I thought the story was quite well sort of rounded. It flowed quite nicely, I think.
Yeah. I mean, let's go on to sort of the characters. As you mentioned, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, he's done this for now, I think now 10 years?
Yeah.
Since his first appearance in Civil War. So that's I think he's the longest running Spider-Man actor, at least in film.
Yeah, because...
Which is quite a record.
Yeah, Toby did 3 films.
Yeah.
And Andrew only did 2.
Yeah, so... Yeah, that's quite a record already. As we said, there's Zendaya.
Yeah.
Who, I think... So, sort of, let's go with, like, Jacob Batalon as well, who plays Ned. Because them two are sort of very... I mean, they've always been sort of connected because they're his friends, but this one they're a bit more... they sort of take a step back. They're not as... Obviously, because they don't know who he is. They're not as big as they were in the, like, Far From Home or even Homecoming or No Way Home. So they take a back seat. I mean, they're still... Story-wise, they're still a big part of the film. But they sort of take a back seat. And I think it works. It allows room for, like, characters. So, like, as you saw, there was... who was the person on the bear? The one who was sort of working with Spider-Man? I can't remember her name. Fair enough. But anyway, as we said, there was a person on the bear who sort of, as Bradley mentioned, was a policewoman that Spider-Man was sort of working with. So it was sort of... I guess it was sort of a Batman Commissioner Gordon thing, but different. There was the Punisher.
Yeah. John
Bernthal, who's reprisal. Again, I think it's about 10 years since he's done it. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, because obviously the Punisher, this is sort of the first time, well, not the first time a TV character's been in a film, because I believe Edwin Jarvis was in Endgame, which is not the first time a TV character's been in a MCU film. But obviously they've sort of made the street level things separate, and I guess Spider-Man's sort of in between. So the Punisher was there.
I mean, is this the first time that the Punisher's been in an MCU film?
In an MCU film, yes, not a film at all.
I mean, obviously, the Punisher had a series way back when.
Yeah.
And obviously he's been in lots of different things.
He had his own special presentation not long before the film came out.
So I think we'll definitely see the Punisher again. I doubt we'll see him in Avengers.
No.
Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars.
No.
He might have like a little cameo in Secret Wars. but I doubt.
don't think
I
so.
doubt it. He might show up in like whatever the new sort of universe MCU will be.
Maybe.
Because obviously, like, you know, I mean, he's quite intertwined in New York, and obviously a lot of the superheroes are New York based.
Yeah.
Whether they're meant to be in New York is, a different story. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll definitely utilize him more in the future. I think he's definitely, I mean, he can play a wide variety of roles. I mean, he's very comedic in this one, I would say.
Yeah.
But he still has those elements of, being sort of dramatic, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I think, because obviously it's not the first time like Tom Holland and John Bernthal have been in a film together.
No.
They've obviously been in The Odyssey. I believe they did their auditions around the same time. So they've obviously known each other for quite a while. And, I think their relationship in the film is quite like, well done.
Yeah.
So obviously in the comics, a lot of the comic heroes hate the Punisher because of what he does.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's not the same here, because, there's a bit like, I don't think he particularly likes him. But it's like, it's quite a good relationship. And obviously, in the past Tom Holland films, there's been like MCU characters before. So obviously, Homecoming had Iron Man, Far From Home had Nick Fury, No Way Home had Doctor Strange. This one has, as I said, the Punisher. You could argue the Hulk maybe as well is more of that role, but I'd say in terms of what the Punisher does in the plot, it's more the Punisher, which is quite an interesting way to do it. I never actually thought they'd put the Punisher in a film in the MCU. I thought they might just restrict him to TV, but he works well, and I wouldn't mind seeing him in like Spider-Man 5 or any other Spider-Man films.
I think he will definitely sort of come up again in more films in the future, and I think particularly when whatever the sort of the next phase of Marvel is after Secret Wars, I think he will definitely show up more, even if it's just like brief cameos, not necessarily in like a whole film like this one. But I think we'll definitely see more of him, and I think he liked playing it as well. Yeah, he liked playing the character.
He's done it for about, as I said, about 10 years, maybe over. So I think he has to enjoy it in some level. Otherwise, we haven't done it for this long.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I definitely think we'll see the Punisher more in future Marvel projects.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, I don't think we'll see him in Doomsday. There's a chance we might see him in Secret Wars, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, really.
Well, yeah, we'll see. So there's obviously the sort of the villain, I guess you could say, William Metzger, played by Tramell Trillman, who most people probably recognise from the Apple TV series Severance. And he does pretty good.
Yeah, I did watch Severance, but not recently. But it's just quite similar character, in a sense.
In a sense, I mean, obviously it's a very different situation.
Oh yeah, but he played a very similar character.
To some extent, yeah.
Someone who sort of presents things sort of one way.
Yeah, and he's actually
in their attitude, but then they're really sort of the opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it worked well within the story. I think I was initially a bit confused, but I think it works quite well. That essentially the villain, the villain of the story in Homecoming, A Brand New Day, was just a regular guy.
Yeah.
Basically.
I've also got Sadie Sink, who was very under wraps on who she was. I think no one really... I mean, obviously people made wild things, but people were probably like, she's probably going to be the one and done. And then she was announced for Secret Wars, so she was also going to be a bigger character there. And then the popular, theory was she was Jean Grey, which would lead into the X-Men. And obviously, if you have seen the film, you know. If you haven't, that's all we're going to say. But yeah, I think she sort of represents as the sort of, I guess, the fake villain. I mean, she's very antagonistic in what she does. Obviously, once a film goes on, you learn her motivations and you understand why. I think, you know, she does quite well.
Yeah, I mean, she plays the classic character, that sort of misunderstood character.
Yeah, I think obviously there'll be more of her, and we'll probably talk a bit about the X-Men a bit later on as well. But, you know, I think for a first start, it's a bit out of the blue. I wouldn't expect them to start off with the X-Men like that. But,
no, I mean, it's a bit of a... It's a bit of a weird thing, because obviously they're doing new X-Men films. And so obviously we'll see a bit of a background of sort of at least the major characters. So I think and obviously, I mean, Jean Grey, she is a major character, but she's not really a major character. So it makes sense that introducing her in Spider-Man, you know, it does make a bit of sense. You know, you get to know her backstory before she's sort of fully introduced. But yeah, I do think it was a bit of a weird choice, and I didn't really get why they went that way, to be honest, because it just doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I don't know if it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think it's definitely out of the blue that they introduced an X-Men character in that way.
Yeah.
Especially not doing it in an X-Men related project as well. But yeah, I mean, apparently that was the director Daniel Daniel Cretton's request to put Jean in there, which I guess is interesting. And obviously there was a long rumour about the X-Men. They couldn't recast the Fox people until 2027. Which obviously that was a rumour, but then like Patrick Stewart turned up in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and obviously had Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
And obviously there was the Kesley Grammer cameo in the Marvels before that. And obviously 2 of them are back for Doomsday. So I guess it's not that. I guess obviously it was true. And now they're sort of shifting to, I guess, starting with the X-Men in this new thing, whatever they're doing after Secret Wars. Obviously, because if you've heard, they've cast a couple of the X-Men now. So Emma Frost has been cast.
Yeah.
Cyclops has just been cast at the time of recording. Obviously, there's loads of rumours about who's going to be who. A lot of them are probably bullshit, but who knows? So yeah, obviously the X-Men are gearing up, and I guess that's a lot of people are looking a lot more forward to that than I'd say. I mean, obviously they've enjoyed Spider-Man because it's made nearly $2 billion at the box office. We should add that. So I think the second biggest opening weekend for a film, just behind Endgame. So obviously people still care about superheroes, stuff like that. And I think obviously the X-Men, I think people have looked forward to pretty much since Fox bought Disney back in, or the other way around, I should say. Disney bought Fox in, wasn't it, 2019, 2020? So, yeah, and obviously there's been like X-Men projects, like there's X-Men 97, where they brought a lot of the voice cast back from that show to reprise their roles, or different characters in some cases. So obviously the X-Men are still popular, and obviously the Fox films lasted for nearly 20 years on and off, at varying degrees of quality. So people still like the X-Men, and I guess a lot of people want to see their sort of take on them, especially now they've got the Fantastic Four done and over with. It's sort of, people want the X-Men because they're still popular to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think because obviously we're in the last sort of phase in whatever phase this is of Marvel. But yeah, I mean, obviously, so I think we can expect to see sort of more of the new vision, because obviously, like Thunderbolts, even though that was a whole sort of film within this phase, it's going to be that those characters are most likely going to be in the next phase.
Maybe not.
Maybe not all of them, but I think because they're it was Thunderbolts, but they phrased as the New Avengers. So I don't think their characters will sort of face a dramatic death or whatever. And I don't think there'll be. I mean, there might be a universe reset, but I think we can definitely sort of see. I think we'll see Marvel move away from the multiverse thing in the future, and I think
probably.
And I think what we're going to start to see, particularly as we're in the last sort of few movies coming up to Secret Wars, which is the last film of the current phase, I think we'll start to see more of sort of the introductions of the characters who'll be in the next phase. So then it'll be like a smooth transition from one to the other.
Yeah, maybe. I think now to sort of pivot it back to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of let's talk about the suit, because obviously there's no surprise that every sort of MCU Spider-Man's got a different suit.
Where I think
obviously this one's like, I think it's slightly different to the one that's seen at the end of No Way Home.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he made this one.
So this one's like a homemade one. A lot of people have obviously not liked the MCU Spider-Man because of I guess because technically his affiliation to Iron Man, and how villains have had some sort of relationship to Iron Man, because obviously the Vulture got laid off because of him. I think it was a similar thing with Mysterio. I mean, even No Way Home didn't have anything like that, because obviously it was a multiverse thing. There was villains from other Spider-Man movies, so they were totally different motivations. And even this one's a bit like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think moving, obviously, I mean, Tony Stark isn't obviously alive. At this point in whatever year it is in the movies, but I mean, I think it's interesting to see sort of, again, a more true to form sort of comic book style sort of Spider-Man. I mean, he's very much more sort of on the ground,
and he's
doing
not
ground stuff. He's not in space. He's not doing that, and he's very much sort of more grounded. And he's very more sciencey, which is more true to the character in a sense. I mean, he is sort of a photographer for one of the newspapers, but he has.
They haven't done that bit yet.
No, but
he might do it. But
he is a scientist essentially, and that's what they sort of built up. Sort of in Homecoming, that he was a bit science orientated, and then they didn't really do anything with that. Because he relied on Tony Stark and Stark Industries and whatever. So obviously, now we're sort of seeing the flip side to that, and I think it's quite interesting to see the growth and sort of the callbacks almost. Yeah,
well, obviously, as you said, every MCU suit had some sort of tech-based. I mean, even this one still has.
Yeah, but this is like tech homegrown.
Yeah, it's a homemade suit. Obviously, as I said, there's that tech-based thing with is it Evie?
Yeah,
the AI voiced by Naomi Watts, who has again previously worked with Tom Holland on what was it called? It's the film about that hurricane.
Impossible.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like that's I think one of his first films or something. Tom Holland.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Well,
because
yeah.
he's at least like 13 or something like that in that film.
Mhm.
He's quite young. And yeah, so obviously there's that callback. Obviously, there's one thing I just picked up is like his lenses. You could actually see like his eyes through them, which
Yeah.
was, I don't know if that was intentional or it was very like, I don't know, it's very like sort of once you saw it, you kind of were a bit distracted by it.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's sort of throughout this film, you sort of saw the emotion almost of sort of Peter Parker sort of being lonely.
Yeah.
And I suppose, obviously, I mean, we'll get into that a bit in a second, but yeah, he is alone, and I think sort of we got new shots inside of his mask as well.
Yes.
So I think the intention was, even as Spider-Man, he still feels lonely and
Yeah.
and whatever, and you know. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think it shows the progression, and going from his sort of heightened sort of loneliness, he sort of his arachnid DNA sort of
Yeah.
increases, and then he
Yeah.
sort
So
of,
obviously we
yeah,
should talk a bit about that. It's like this, as you said, through the film, he's like his powers like are slightly going through mutation. So he's basically changing. He's going through spider puberty.
yeah,
Obviously, a lot of people are thinking that he turned into the man spider, which is in the comics is essentially a thing where his powers mutate and he becomes a spider, like a human spider. Obviously, apparently they were considering that, according to Tom Holland, but then they said they don't want to scare kids, so they didn't do that. Obviously, the series Spider Noir had some version of that,
yeah,
which was quite
in a way,
which was quite creepy.
yeah.
So it's probably a good thing they didn't go for that. I don't know if that's a thing that they'll try and do in the trilogy, because I doubt that'd be the last we hear of it. But who knows? Or if there even is a trilogy planned. But we'll get to that. But yeah, I think this is probably the best, like Tom Holland suit. Obviously, it's probably the closest to the actual comic suit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's had loads of different suits in the comics, but the usual one he wears is quite similar to that. But yeah, I wonder if they'll change it again for the next one, or they'll keep it.
I reckon they'll keep it, because the other suits were sort of, because they were made by Tony Stark and Stark Industries, and obviously now, you know, Tony Stark doesn't exist. You know, there isn't that. I mean, obviously Stark Industries will still exist in some capacity, but I don't think, you know, they'll change it constantly, especially as, you know, Tom Holland will be in Secret Wars. He might have a cameo in Doomsday potentially, but he'll be in Secret Wars, and then he'll have one more movie after that, potentially another one. But he's got to at least have one more movie. So I don't really see the point in having a new suit, especially as, you know, this film was all about him going about it on his own. You know, dealing with his sort of his loneliness, his heightened powers, controlling that, and I suppose going back to Jean Grey, you know, her power is like being able to sort of put her mind in someone else, and there was that scene where, you know, where Jean Grey got into the mind of MJ, and then, you know, they had like a moment essentially where he thought that it was actually MJ, but it wasn't. So yeah, I think because this film was all about him doing stuff for himself, I don't think that they'll change it for the sake of changing it, especially as, you know, Spider-Man's more mature in a sense.
Yeah, probably. I think yeah, it probably wouldn't make sense to change the suit, but it's Marvel, so I don't know. But yeah, I guess one thing that I think, although the film's good, it's not really. I guess the problem I think a lot of people have as well is that, like, although yes, there's Spider-Man and there's like the Spider-Man villains, the main villains like someone associated to the X-Men.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, and I understand to an extent why they did what they did, but I think a lot of people are sort of wanted a Spider-Man villain. Obviously there was Scorpion tease, and he's only in it for maybe 10 minutes total. Obviously there was Tombstone, who a lot of people thought was going to be a secret villain. He wasn't. And there was like other things like Tarantula, Boomerang, who were honestly barely in the film. It's like pretty much all the shots you saw in the trailer, that was it. They never come back. Well, there was a lot of rumours that Tarantula was MJ's boyfriend in the film, but the boyfriend wasn't actually in it that long enough, so whether that's true or not, I don't know.
No, I mean, again, I think it goes back to the fact that we're at the end of this current Marvel phase,
Yeah, so
and I think they want to transition into the new phase and make it sort of as seamless as they can, basically. So I think, yeah, I mean, I get it, and I would like to probably seen, a bit, more Spider-Man in that sense. But I think because we are going into the next phase relatively soon, I think they want to introduce those characters in those worlds, more so the characters, so then people can get used to them quickly.
Yeah.
Which is why I think, going back to Thunderbolt, I think they'll be in the next phase, at least, if it's not completely, at least a transition thing, because, like, them as the new Avengers.
Yeah. Wait, well, yeah, I mean, in the comics, the New Avengers is a completely different team.
Well, yeah. But I think after Secret Wars, I don't think there'll be a reset, like a universe reset. I think it will just sort of transition into that's the old sort of characters, and we're in this. Maybe there is a universe reset, but then, it's completely, there's no multiverse. There's only one universe.
Yeah, maybe.
And then it sort of starts, or sort of, I suppose ends. Secret Wars end with the new Avengers, aka Thunderbolts, and then that is the transition, and you get, your new Jean Grey, your new X-Men, somewhere down the line, a new Spider-Man. There's rumours about Miles Morales being in a future Spider-Man film.
Yeah.
So, whether that's the next Spider-Man film where, Peter Parker transitions into, Bedkey takes the mantle away from him into this new universe and sort of hides away and sort of retires almost and lets Miles Morales take over. Maybe that's the next film of Spider-Man, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And welcome back. So I guess now we've talked about most of the film, I think there's obviously parts we haven't really mentioned. Obviously there's as we were talking about New Avengers, there's the Yelena, whatever her surname is, appearance. But I didn't actually see. I heard rumours that Florence Pugh's going to be in it. I didn't actually expect it to happen.
Yeah.
But I think it works.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's quite funny.
Yeah.
In a sense.
And obviously it's quite
stuff.
Yeah, and it's obviously quite a funny thing of Spider-Man going in to a bathing suit and
yeah. And his mask.
I won't talk. I was going to say let's not talk too much about it. You've already done that. Obviously, there's the Hulk, who's not actually in the film for that much.
No, not really.
And I think a lot of people are happy because it's the return of like the proper, I guess, as people like to say, savage Hulk, not this version, which I think is good that they reverted. Considering I think personally, I felt they ruined the character a bit in She-Hulk,
Yeah.
and so I guess it's good. I don't know what's going to happen with the character in terms of if he's going to be in Doomsday or Secret Wars, but I guess it's good to see a version of the Hulk back after a while.
I thought Mark Ruffalo said recently that he's going to stop, or after a certain film, he's going to stop.
Maybe, but who knows? There'll probably be a different guy playing the Hulk.
Probably.
But yeah, I guess let's, as we sort of touched upon it loosely, the future of the MCU going forward. So obviously we still have Doomsday coming out. We got Secret Wars the year after. A lot of people are theorising that'd be a two-parter. I don't know. I guess we'll find out once Doomsday's out in the world.
I think Secret Wars will be an extended Marvel film.
What do you mean by extend? Like 4 hours?
Yeah, something like 3 or 4 hours. I don't think it'll be 2 parts. I don't think they'll do that. But yeah, I think it will definitely be like an extended Marvel movie.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously we don't really know what's going to happen. There are certain leaks about what's happening in Doomsday, but we won't talk about them here because, quite frankly, I can't remember. I already know one of them, and even then I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But obviously Doomsday, it's sort of... Obviously there's quite a lot of characters because we've got certain characters on the Fox X-Men coming back. See, there's the ones that have been here. So there's the New Avengers. There's the Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I think that we're getting all these characters together to face off Doctor Doom, and then I think at the end of Secret Wars, I mean, everyone's been talking about sort of a universe reset, and I think there will be, in effect, I think there will be certain characters that will die in the movie. I think there'll be certain characters that sort of vanish, almost Thanos style.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think the whole point will be that this will be the end of the multiverse, and that's sort of how they sort of stop Doomsday, essentially.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously, nothing's really been known about Secret Wars, so we don't know how the films will continue after whatever happens in Doomsday. Maybe once Doomsday actually comes out, we'll talk a bit more about that. But that's for Doomsday. So that's not December. But yeah, I guess obviously, as you said, there'll probably be characters that disappear. Like probably the Fox X-Men will probably, or maybe not all of them, but some of them will probably go, opening up the door for the new X-Men.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're seeing all these characters come in, and then I think what we'll see is they essentially reset the universe. So there's no multiverse. There's no, there's none of that. So essentially, characters disappear. Certain characters might die, but I think what we will see is that multiverse sort of go away, and then we sort of, we're left with the new Avengers.
Yeah, maybe. And obviously there's rumours of a certain project that might be saved for the new thing. Obviously we know that there's going to be a Ghost Rider project, which I think is a bit out of the blue, but okay. Obviously there's the Black Panther 3 with a new Black Panther. Obviously everyone knows about the X-Men film that might be announced at the D23 event some point this month. So I paused because I was trying to remember the date, but I actually don't know what the date is. At some point this month. And yeah, obviously sort of linking up to Spider-Man, obviously a lot of people want to know what's happening about Spider-Man 5, so whether Tom Holland's coming back, which I think he will, as much as he said the opposite at this point. But I think he'll come back.
I think the next Spider-Man film will be a transition film.
Probably.
As I said.
I think,
I mean, there's been lots of speculation about Miles Morales.
Yes, but I feel, believe Kevin Feige said about putting Miles Morales there, is like they will, but once the Spider-Verse movies are done. And as of now, the Spider-Verse movie is the next Spider-Man project, which is out June next year. So, although that's a long time to wait, you know, it will finish off the character, and we probably won't see the next Spider-Man until like 2029 or something like that anyway. So it's not, I guess, that unheard of.
Yeah.
And obviously, I guess a lot of people want to see, because I imagine they'll probably use Miles Morales as the Spider-Man going forward if they do it like that, to allow Tom Holland to just retire and maybe do other projects, which he's done anyway.
I think what was, again, going back, I think what we'll see in Secret Wars is like a reset. I think certain characters will die.
Yeah.
And then certain characters will vanish, and then certain characters will sort of stay, like Tom Holland and Spider-Man, to pass on the mantle to the next Spider-Man. You know, it might not, it might not be Miles Morales, but it might be, you know, I don't know if there's any other Spider-Man who's not called Peter Parker, but
there's a lot.
yeah, but yeah, I think I think certain characters will die. I think certain characters will disappear to sort of make way for the new versions.
Yeah.
But I think we'll have a reset in a way where the mantle is sort of taken forward.
Yeah. I guess let's sort of talk, as we now sort of on and off talk about the X-Men. Obviously now, as we've said, we've had some casting announcements. So we've had, as we said, Cyclops has been cast. Jean Grey, as we know from this podcast, has been cast. Emma Frost has been cast. Obviously there's a lot of rumours about other characters like Rogue, Beast, who's probably going to be in there definitely. I think Adam Driver seems to be playing 3 characters, so he's probably not in the film at all. Yeah, you know, I guess obviously everyone's interested to see the X-Men if it comes out 2028, like the next Marvel films after the Secret Wars, or 2029. But everyone wants to like see the X-Men in film again.
I think that in terms of casting, because they seem to like casting from The Bear, I think they've had like 5 characters from The Bear who's been in Marvel projects. So I think, you know, look at who's in The Bear.
Yeah, well, at the same time, they've been casting quite young. So I think the actor for Cyclops is like 22, so that's quite young.
Quite a few. There are a few characters in The Bear who are quite young, to be fair. I mean, they're not like old though.
No, but
like 30s.
And obviously, I guess, obviously to not do a prediction because we don't know what will happen. But I guess in terms of like a villain, do you think they go like basic with like Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, or do you think they'll do something?
No, I think they'll try something different.
Because obviously Magneto's I mean, you can't really get rid of him because he is a big part of the X-Men.
No, I think initially they'll try something different, you know, to test the waters out almost. And then, you know, they'll sort of feed him into various sort of new X-Men, how many X-Men films they do, or whatever other projects X-Men's in. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll start pretty like basic, almost like Spider-Man. They started pretty basic and then they went sort of increased.
Yeah, well, with Spider-Man, they did villains that hadn't been done in the movies.
Yeah.
So like Vulture was like character who almost was in a film but didn't make it for
Yeah. So
whatever reason. And same with Mysterio, people wanted him, and then they got Mysterio. So do you think they'll do something like so? Like a lot of people are saying like Mr. Sinister, who's like a big X-Men villain to certain characters. Do you think they'll do like him?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll at least start with doing characters that they haven't done before in an X-Men film, or even they have like rehash it basically.
Bit like Galactus in First Steps.
But yeah, I mean, I think at least initially they'll start different, and then they'll build up sort of upon it. Kind of like, and I think this will happen with sort of the new versions of whatever new superheroes in the next phase, or the new Avengers or whatever. But I think they'll start basic and then they'll build up.
Yeah, maybe. I think definitely if they do it, like Apocalypse will probably be a big villain and try to avoid what they did in the aforementioned X-Men Apocalypse. But again, we might not see that until 2029 or 2028. But as I said, there's the D23 coming out later this month, so we'll find out then, at the time of recording this month. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching and listening to Miles Ahead. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at milesahead.pod, and we'll catch you next time.